Okay, folks, turn those cameras on. It's time to go for the final push of the day. How are you guys doing? Still have plenty of energy for the last round? Yes? Let's finish strong today. Yes? Beautiful. All right. So then let me invite someone to come up for a brief discussion and a quick demo of a really fun little thing. Just go ahead and raise your digital hand, please, if you want to come up and have a quick chat. Don't all jump up at once. Okay, I'll sweeten the deal. Free hypnosis. Come on, let's bring Craig up here. Hey, Craig, how's it going?
It's going quite well, thanks, Igor.
You enjoying yourself?
Oh yeah, great fun.
Excellent. Okay, so what we're going to now is deal with a situation. What if you've done some work with someone and you basically run out of time, so the work's not complete? What can we do with that? Any ideas?
I guess you'd have to let the unconscious handle it.
Bingo. And how might we suggest that? Any ideas?
I guess it depends if you know you're going to get cut off or if that just happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get cut off because your Zoom link dies, that's another matter, right? I'm talking more like you're getting to the end of the session, you look at the clock, you go, gosh, I've got 10 minutes left. There's no way we'll get done in 10 minutes. So what do we do with that, right?
Go
ahead.
Yeah, implant some sort of or suggest that the unconscious is gonna, set up a space where it's gonna happen for you when you're not in the therapy room.
That's perfect. That's exactly right. Do you want to have a quick taste of that and we'll talk about it and then we can go off and try it out? Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes and find yourself going into whatever level of trance is right for you. And I want you to know, Craig, that you've done a lot of work today, especially in the last session. Some stuff has come up, some things got churned up that are worth dealing with. Even if they weren't coming up directly, I'd like to invite your unconscious mind to take this opportunity to do something of great value for you. In the coming days and weeks, I want you to notice with great delight how something changes in your behavior and in your thoughts and feelings as a result of what your unconscious mind can do by taking all the material that's being brought to the surface now and processing it in the back of your mind, handling it in a way that your unconscious mind is uniquely competent for dealing with. And all you need to do is sit there, breathe, and allow a sense of comfort to continue to spread through you. Because as you continue to listen just to the sound of my voice, your unconscious mind can start gathering all the different parts of yourself that need to be brought together so that you can remain focused and on full point to engage with your life in a meaningful and productive way, while it continues to work through all the things that have been unsettled, brought up, and got ready for change in the back of your mind. Now, every night when you dream, your unconscious mind creates amazing and detailed dreams on the fly, no need to prepare anything. So it can do a therapeutic process for you outside of your awareness with great ease. There's not your head if you understand that. So you get to look forward to the coming days and weeks as you notice where these changes that are starting to occur in the back of your mind right now will show up. And they'll start showing up right about the time when your unconscious mind finishes this process. As far as your conscious mind is concerned, you're done. You can bring yourself back, eyes open, refreshed, relaxed, alert, simply fantastic. And all you have to do is be on the lookout. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Right? So that's really the essence of what we're doing. So I'd like you in a moment to go into your groups. You'll have about, 13 minutes to play around with this. First of all, spend about 4 minutes just discussing the 4 steps I'll talk about in a moment, and then give a chance to do it with each other. It only takes a minute to do, maybe 2, right? It's a really nice, easy cleanup. And this is not the only way to do it. You can use other versions of this as well. As a rule of thumb, however, we'll start off by pacing the immediate past. All this stuff has just happened, right? in this session, a lot of stuff has come up, right? It's just the truth. We're pacing it, aren't we? Then we're going to lead that into the future. In the coming days and weeks, you'll notice your unconscious mind will do something with this. So in the days, coming weeks, you will notice changes in your behavior and your feelings as a result of resolving the work you've started here. And then we'll take it back to the present. So now your unconscious mind can just continue the process you've begun here, clean it up, whilst your conscious mind gets on with your day in a perfectly productive way. So past, things have come up. Future, expect to see the resolution in your feelings and your behavior. Present, put yourself back together so you can just get on with your day consciously, whilst your unconscious mind handles it in the back of your mind, in your back of your mind. Super simple, isn't it? Any questions, Craig?
I seem to recall you mentioned dreams. What if you have a client or somebody who doesn't, remember their dreams or doesn't acknowledge that they dream?
Well, first of all, you don't have to use it if you don't want to. And I think I'm glad you used the phrasing that you did, which is that they don't acknowledge that they dream, because everyone dreams. It's just a question of whether or not they remember their dreams afterwards, right? And you're right, some people don't acknowledge that they actually have any dreams. But if they genuinely didn't have any dreams, well, they'd be going pretty stir crazy within the week. It's a horrible condition when someone really doesn't get into REM sleep. So, that is a very unlikely thing. But you're right, some people don't acknowledge their dreams, in which case, don't use dreams as an example. Just talk about the front of the mind and the back of the mind, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone has had the experience of insight, for example, where an idea just pops out at you. I might even talk about, you have this, the tip of the tongue phenomenon is another example. You know this name, they know this person, but you just can't place it. And then you just forget about it. Just put it away. Just forget about it. Let your unconscious handle it. And then an hour later, a day later, a week later, you're doing something completely random, and out it pops. You know exactly what it was. Oh, there it is. I knew it all along, right? So whatever part of your mind was responsible for giving you the name without you even thinking about it, well, I'd like to invite that part of the mind to continue the process you've just started so that you can finish off healing and processing this material to make you a better, healthier person all around. Meanwhile, your conscious mind can just gather itself back together so your full attention can be on your day-to-day living. Just as you've done before, you can forget about it, knowing that when the right time comes, it'll just pop out at you. You won't be able to miss it. So how delighted will you be when you find your behavior is changing in pleasant and delightful ways, right?
Pretty damn delighted, I think.
Right? Do you see how if one frame isn't working, because, for example, they don't acknowledge dream, switch it to another. We have plenty of examples of unconscious problem solving. So just use one of those. Does that help?
Yeah, cool.
Excellent. Any questions?
No, I'm good.
Super simple. Let's release Craig back to the wilderness here. And then we'll go into groups. You have 3 minutes each to do this, but honestly, you'll just need about a minute or two to do it. And about 4 minutes as a group first to discuss your approach towards it. So have a chat for about 4 minutes and then just go right into it. Have fun with it. We'll be back in 12, 13 minutes and ready to do the final big demo of the day. Take us away. All righty, folks. You're back. Please go ahead and start posting some comments. We'll wait for the others to return. And here we are. Welcome back, everyone. How was that? Was that interesting? Was that fun? Go ahead and post your comments. Right? Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Are you beginning to detect a really simple pattern here? Right? We can really, with the idea of pacing and leading, with the idea of specific and general suggestions, we really have a almost infinitely expandable toolkit, do we not? Are you getting a sense of this now? Yes? Sanford saying this is like a gift that can begin after any session. Exactly. Because why not? In fact, this is what we'll be doing in a moment, right? Anything else? Any other comments? Any other questions? So then my turn to invite someone to come up here for the final demo. So great to work with such wonderful, diverse group of people. I totally agree with that. So where are you? Who was interested in doing content-free therapy. Let's bring Joshua up for this.
Hello.
So, hey, Joshua, how's it going?
Good.
So we've got a little bit of time. So I thought we will expand our final offering and do a slightly more elaborate version of what we were going to do normally. And folks, it's totally okay if you want to do the simpler version. I'll just tell you which bit to cut out as we do it, but let's go for it first and then we'll walk through it. Is that okay? So Joshua, the first thing I want to do is I'd like to invite you to think about some problem, a situation you'd like to do better in, some problem you'd like to resolve. Give it somewhere in sort of a medium level of complexity, just so that we've got a decent shot at dealing with this in the next minute or so. Is that cool? Perfect. Now, very importantly, don't tell me what this problem is.
Okay.
I mean, you can if you want to, but for the purpose of this sake, let's keep it a mystery. So this is going to be doing a little bit of code therapy here, right? But do give me a code word for it. What would you like to call this? You can give it a color. You can give it a bizarre name. You can just draw an object from the memory around it and just give me that as a reminder.
Brown.
Brown, perfect. If I say brown, you clearly think about whatever this is. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. So this is the extra bit, folks. Once you resolve the whole brown thing, what will you notice is different about you?
Just be much more effective, much more productive.
More effective, more productive, right?
Yes.
And how would you know that you're being effective and productive? What would you notice is different?
I just will be consistent with, I won't find myself getting lost in
What will you be doing?
What's that?
What will you be doing instead?
Just getting done task after task after
So
task.
you'll be doing task after task. So who's someone who knows you really well?
Let's see here. My sister.
The sister. So if your sister was watching you getting task after task after task done like this, what would she notice is different about you?
She would just probably tell me I'm crazy or like relax, like calm down. You're
sure, but what would she notice is different about you when you're getting all this stuff done?
Compared
to the way you might normally be in this situation.
She would just like what would she notice?
What would she notice? So she's watching you getting task after task done. So this is different to when you're doing brown, when you're stuck in brown.
That I'm getting all these tasks done without stopping, and I'm just really keeping a good spirit about it.
Perfect. How would you know you've got a good spirit?
Just keep saying you're pushing me to like really think. Yes. She would see me glowing, like lighting up.
Yes. And when she sees you glowing, what would you notice was different about yourself?
Feel a sensation, just like a really pleasant sensation in my body.
Okay, so you have a really pleasant sensation sort of in the center of your body, is that right?
Yeah, it's a really pleasant state.
Yeah.
Don't really have a label for it.
Yeah. So if you had this really pleasant state, this in the sort of central part of your body like that, right? During whatever the activity is that brown was going on in, will that let you know you've done this, you've nailed it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, on a completely different topic, what's something that you really enjoy doing that really absorbs your attention?
Rifle shooting, or target shooting.
Tell me more.
Love like looking down. They've told a couple of other people this weekend, but looking down the sight radius, focusing on the front sight.
Yeah. Everything
else fades away, and I only have that front sight to focus on.
Right.
And I'm just in peace.
And how do you know you're in peace?
I just I have that focus and nothing else matters.
Right. And what position do you typically hold yourself in whilst you're shooting?
Prone, usually. Like
prone,
on my stomach, yeah.
Is one hand further? Which hand is usually in the lead?
The left hand is.
So the left hand's in the lead, the rear, the right hand's in the rear, right? And which eye do you use to look down the sights with?
Right.
Your right eye. So your left hand's in front, your right hand's in the rear, your right eye is on the sight, and you're lying prone. Do you have both your legs straight, or is one of them bent?
One of them's bent, and the other one's straight. The right leg's bent, and the left leg's straight.
So the right leg's bent, the right hand is rear, your right eye is sighting, Your left leg is straight, your left hand is forward, just sort of holding. And then when you get your side picture, right? Are you focusing more on the tip of the what are the thing in the front called? I forgot it.
A sight post, yeah.
The side post. Do you keep your mind attention more on that or on the target? Do you see like does the target fade from your vision a bit when you are about to shoot?
Target is weird. The target doesn't matter. You just focus on this. You can only hold one focus.
Right. So if I understand correctly, you look at the sight, you align your side picture, and then you kind of draw your sight back to the actual, what's the thing in the front called again? The
sight post, yeah.
The side post. So when your attention on the side post and the target starts to fade, is that when you know you're ready to shoot? Yeah. And just before you're ready to shoot, just at the moment you're ready to shoot, what gives you a clue that you're about to shoot well?
I just have that sight post stable. It's stable.
Stable.
Yeah. It's.
And what do you notice if you were to pay attention to your body? I know you don't, but if you were to just briefly notice your body, what you notice is different about your body when the sight post is stable.
Perfectly still.
Perfectly still. And what kind of clothes do you typically wear when you're shooting?
Usually cargo shorts and like a tank top.
Okay, so this is more like in the sort of summer or warm weather when you go shooting, is that right? Are you indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Right. Is there like a roof above you or just out in the outdoors?
Usually not. Usually it's just out under the sun.
So just out in the sun. And is it like a formal range, an informal range?
This specific range is a formal range. Yeah.
It's a formal range, but you're outside. How many targets are there? I know that you have your particular lane, but how many other lanes are there?
15.
It's about 15 lanes. And do you have like a usual spot you like to shoot from?
Yeah.
Which one's that?
It's about 1/3 of the way down of the shooting house, like the length.
So the shooting house is from on what side, the left or the right?
It's on the right side, about 1/3 of the way towards the center.
So when you're lying down, you're closer, you're on the right hand side. Can you kind of see the shooting house in your peripheral vision before you get ready, right? And what's on the left hand side?
Just more shooting house for the further distance, yeah.
Further distance. And then what color is the target?
The target's red.
And is it in rings or is it just all red with black lines on it?
It's a like a simulator. It's a shoot traditional riflemanship. So it's like a outline of the upper part of a human torso.
Got it. But it has the targets, the lines and the circles and that stuff on there too. Is that right?
Yeah, they call them red coat targets.
Red coat targets, perfect.
Yeah.
What's behind the targets? Is there like a mound?
Just more range for about 200 more yards. Out further than that, it's trees.
And then there's trees, and what kind of trees are they?
Probably say maple trees.
Okay.
Far out though, I can't see that close.
So then just close your eyes and just really enjoy lying on the range. The trees off in the distance fading away. The target roughly man-shaped out there. And take a moment to kind of get yourself comfortable. Notice the pressure of where the ground is pushing up against your leg, your thighs, your chest. And then there's that rifle. The texture of, that's it, the barrel, the butt. And you can hear things through the headphones you're wearing or the earplugs you're wearing, but it's a distant muted sound. Notice that sense of anticipation that can come when it's a warm, sunny day. And there's even that scent of gunpowder in the air, just a trace of it. You can anticipate more of it coming your way soon. And it's just a pleasant memory to get lost in. You haven't even got through to the sight picture and the stillness that comes, but it's okay. Take your time. Breathe, find your position. And as your conscious mind continues to do that, I'd like to invite your unconscious to only respond in ways that are appropriate for you as a complete personality, so that as he's comfortably shooting there, you can begin to assess all the conditions relevant to Brown to do something of great value. And you can feel the weight of the barrel in your left hand and the way your trigger finger securely touches the trigger, not ready to shoot yet, still settling in. And sunny, warm. Is there a slight breeze, perhaps? The scent of nature mingled with a hint of gunpowder. And that stillness coming so soon. As your unconscious continues to consider all the things that turns Brown into productivity, into getting task after task after task done. And then it's good to know that you don't have to think, Joshua, about anything. No solution, no figuring it out. All you have to do is keep your eye moving down that line of sight at the target, and then gradually line up the front sight, get that sight picture leveled out, anticipating the stillness. And I'd like you to know that something in this experience of stillness, the weight of the barrel, the texture of the trigger, the breathing, the stillness of the sights, the gradual loss of awareness of the clubhouse, the sights, the target. There's only one thing becomes totally clear. Something in all of this is more than just a good feeling. Your unconscious can start daydreaming about the solution to Brown, to bring you towards that central state of good feeling that has no real name yet, that you recognize. And something in this shooting memory, there's a missing ingredient waiting for you to discover that can resolve Brown, bring that stable, good feeling in the center of your body, make you glow to the eyes of anyone that's watching. Get tasks done one after the other. And you don't really need to think about that consciously, Joshua, because it's so much more interesting to look down the sight and feel the stillness. And I wonder if you even notice the shot ring out, or if there's just a natural resetting when the breath returns, letting you know it's time to prepare the next shot and continue that sense of flow, target, sight, alignment, still. And whilst your conscious mind enjoys the stillness, your unconscious mind is reviewing every aspect of this memory to find the missing ingredients that will so naturally resolve Brown for you. Now, it wasn't always easy to shoot in stillness like this. You went through a whole process of learning discovered difficulties, obstacles, doubts. And you overcame one after the other because you had just enough hint of that stillness to make you want to go back and experience it again. And your unconscious built a stable foundation of stillness from which you can shoot and really enjoy shooting. A foundation of stillness that continues to grow as you grow and continues to give you a pleasant sensation. And somewhere in all of this lies the missing ingredient for the resolution of brown, and your unconscious mind can search for it, find it, acquire it, transfer it. And your conscious mind really does need to know what that is or how it's going to happen. Your unconscious can allow the solution to trickle into awareness over time, whilst it continues to make adjustments, continues to search inside of memories like shooting at the range and stillness to draw out the ingredients necessary so that brown just transforms all by itself. And brown has had an impact on your life that is now time to move beyond. And you know what I mean, do you not? So whilst your conscious mind can look forward to discovering what your unconscious mind is doing in the back of your mind by observing new behaviors, new feelings, new patterns of cognition emerging in context relevant to brown. Meanwhile, your unconscious can continue to make the adjustments, the investigations, and all the learnings you need to give that good feeling in the center of your body that somehow grew from the stillness of shooting and the things around shooting that you don't fully need to know about yet. So whilst you can gather all parts of your conscious awareness so that you're free to continue your day in productive ways, achieving what you like to achieve and anticipating where you might discover how brown has changed in your behaviors, your feelings, your cognitions. You'll just have to wait until the trickle of time has given your unconscious all the room it needs to complete that transition. And I have a sense that as pleasant as all of this is, like any good memory, it's good to leave things in the back of your mind, ready to call upon when you need to. You can feel good about shooting anytime you wish, of course. You can feel the stillness anytime you need. And anything else that your unconscious mind takes from this. And when your unconscious is ready to let your conscious back to just do its thing, whilst it continues to do its thing in the background. You know what's going to happen. You'll feel really good. Your eyes will open up. You'll probably smile more broadly than you normally do. And that might even be a sign that your unconscious has done something that might be of value to you. What do you think?
That was wild. Way before you even cued in Brown and that whole thing, I'm sitting there imagining shooting. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what happened to Brown? And it like, I imagined this like little brown triangle like slapped into my head and like went in like a worm in a horror movie into my head, and it just like started with like just flowing through my body. And when you brought it back up again, the way you brought it up in a very vague kind of way, like that it wasn't a specific way I needed to process it because it was already somewhat processed. It was like a parts integration happened right there. And then from there, it started to just more or less like flow through my body and transform. I developed like a feeling here. I gave it a color just because I'm used to doing that. I gave it a color. And as time went on, I started like feeling other things kind of going in my body the same way and processing. And yeah, that's about all I can really remember.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any questions for me?
No, and it seemed like it was like create a problem state, give it a color, or give it some kind of a symbol.
Yeah. So let's walk through it. Let's walk through it step by step so we have it clear and everyone else can kind of listen in with this, right? So we do a bit of kind of COVID or content-free therapy here, right? That means I don't need to know what the problem is. So the first thing we're going to ask the person to do is to think of a problem and then give it a code name, right? You gave it a color. Colors are very typical. They could call it X, or they might pull an object out of the environment like, you know, shoe, which is enough to remind them of what it is, but doesn't give anyone else a clue, so they can keep it private, right? The bonus portion is the following. You don't have to do this bonus portion, but if you want to, you can add this. You're going to ask, basically, assume that it's been overcome, right? Brown is no longer a problem. How would you know, right? So just get really specific details of when it's overcome. What will you notice? What will be different? How will you feel different? What will you do different? How will your body be different? How will you act different? How will you know it's actually done, right? And this is where you have to do a little bit of work, because first of all, people want to talk a lot of negatives, like I won't have X anymore, right? And goes, great. Well, when you don't have X, well, what do you have? It must be a clear, positive thing. Did you notice as he started describing it, that two things were happening? First of all, initially, it was hard to describe what it would be like to not have Brown, to be beyond it, right? It was a little tricky to try and get to it, the language, the situation, and so on. Second thing is once you got over that little tricky bit, once you got over that hump and it started getting clearer again, how you would know you resolved this, then you probably actually started feeling it. In other words, you actually got a sense of that end state already. Would that be fair to say? Right? That's how I know that we've got the right handle on the solution, right? So I may not know the problem, but I have enough of the solution. If someone doesn't even want to talk about the solution, we can still do the whole method without actually talking about that. But as a rule of thumb, people tend to be quite happy talking about solutions, even about when it's related to problems that they don't want to talk about. Does that kind of make sense? So now we do the quote unquote technique. After doing the solution part, we're going to go to a personal trance experience. The two qualities I'm looking for is enjoyment and absorption, right? Super simple. I love what you talked about in terms of the range and the rifle, because it has all those qualities and then some, right? And then I'm going to spend some time there. You're going to have plenty of time for this, folks. Spend some time there to get plenty of detail so you can have plenty of specific things you can talk about. I could talk about, I didn't actually necessarily talk about the color of the gun. I could have asked about that, of course. But I could talk about the weight of the gun, the sensation, his left hand forward, his right hand back, his leg being bent, where the feel of the cargo shorts, where his bare legs are touching the ground. I could talk about the breeze, the sunshine, the clubhouse on the one side. There's so many things I could talk about because he gave me all the information up front. Easy, right? I don't need it all, but it's good to have some, right? Once you have that, and in your case, it was really obvious when we had it. Do you know how it was really obvious it was time for trance?
To be honest, no. I went right in. Oh,
you're in it. You're already in it, right? So I just have to kind of write it straight in. You can basically use trance any way you want, but honestly, at this point, if you've been asking about the personal trance experience, they're already, if they're not already in it, they'll be so close to it, just closing their eyes and give them permission to really remember the memory. will do wonders at that point, right? So then you just bring it to life, just like we did yesterday, right? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What's the tactile sensation like? What's the pressure like, right? So we just do a few rounds of that until you're really into it. And again, you could see, how could you all see that Joshua was getting into the memory very clearly, right? The harmonizing in his body was very clear, right? You felt it, did you not?
Yeah.
Once that happens, once you're really into the experience, now we can start doing the change work, right? Step one of the change work is to create a certain, I call it the response set. Just respond in ways that are appropriate for you, that are relevant to you, right? So basically any mistakes are made can be ignored by the unconscious. It makes life easy, right? And then we're going to assume that the personal trance experience, the shooting, has the missing ingredient, the resolution, the resource required to overcome the problem, right? So first have their unconscious mind start thinking about the problem and the solution they want. So thinking about Brown, thinking about the solution they want, reviewing all the things that go into it. But let that all happen unconsciously. And I'm going to go back and forth between the personal trance experience and thinking about the problem, so that you consciously think about shooting whilst you unconsciously think about the problem. You get the idea? And that's probably one of the places where the sort of Brown thing drilling into your head started happening, because you're now having both active simultaneously, which means the integration is the association is going to start happening anyways, right? And then we're going to create a cognitive element saying, let the unconscious mind find whatever is missing, whatever it needs from the personal trance experience, from the shooting, so that they can resolve the problem. So do that a few times. Go back and forth a few times, just give it a bit of time to do that. As a fail safe, I just said the conscious mind doesn't even know what the answer, need to know what the answer is. It gets to find out over the next few days, weeks, whatever, at the unconscious mind's rate. And then to finish things off, a cleanup set. Let this process continue in the back of your mind, whilst your conscious mind pulls itself back together, so you can just live your life and look forward to when the changes show up in your behaviors, in your feelings, in your thoughts. And we're done. Super simple.
Yeah.
Right? Simple steps, right? The additional part was that solution discussion at the beginning. Otherwise, personal trance experience, unconsciously consider the problem, whilst you're still consciously thinking about the trance experience. Unconsciously find the missing resource in the personal trance experience. Unconsciously apply the missing resource in the missing trance experience. Don't let the conscious mind know until it's all well and done, and continue to do this whole thing until it's resolved. Just keep doing it, keep going back to it, keep finding the resource, keep adjusting it until it's so complete that he can finally discover what the answer is consciously, and then you can surprise and delight him. Bring him back. Done. Easy.
Seems like a very simple way of using PCAT in a traditional hypnosis session.
It's a very PCAT formula. It's a very sort of simple process. And the beauty of it is, I don't need to know what the solution is. You don't need to know what the solution is. We just have to start the process for the solution finding. That's it.
Yeah.
Any questions about that?
Only question is, do you think that because this is like something that, if you use it on a light enough problem, could be a very effective gift with somebody? Okay.
Yes.
That's my only thing.
Yes.
I honestly think
but you have to keep it, remember to keep it short. Don't get tempted to start going out to 10, 15 minutes. Today, we're going to give you 15 minutes, so you have plenty of time to get this done. Plenty of time, right?
Okay.
If it's a smaller issue, you want to kind of zip through it a bit more so that you can get it within the 5 to 10 minute mark, right? Nate's saying, it seems like you're using revivification of a memory, then pasting that memory and leading a resolution to the problem. Amen. Nate, you've nailed it, right? Revivification from yesterday, pacing leading today, and are we leading it directly towards a solution? You have nailed exactly how this works. RPL, revivify, pace, lead. It's about as simple as you can get with about as robust a method as possible. No? Questions? Joshua?
RPL. So
Revivify,
yes.
pace, lead.
Yep. So the revivification is the actual personal trance experience.
That's right. And technically that's also pacing, but let's forget about that part.
Okay.
Pace is pace the problem, review it. Lead, get the solution. Where are you going to get it from? You're going to draw it out of the revivification. And then the bells and whistles added to that is that cleanup set at the end to make sure that the unconscious mind keeps doing this until you're done. Meanwhile, you get to live your life and just be curious about how the solution is going to show up for you. All good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then let's release Joshua into the wilderness. If anyone has a question, now's the time to ask. Elizabeth, how are we doing with the rooms? Oh, let's bring up John. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, are we okay with the rooms?
So Igor, I really appreciate that exercise, and especially the step 4. That's my question, because I'm like Joshua. Like I was like, he just noticed right away there was something happened right away. But when we got to step 4 and we're asking all this, what was going on in my mind is, this is going on for so long, and I just wanted, and I know this is a teaching environment and stuff like that, but I'm just curious that it seemed to I just wonder how necessary it is to go through all what you went through to get the unconscious mind to deliver the goods on this. You know, that's what's.
Nothing is necessary in the right conditions. Like, let me give you an example. In the right conditions, you can literally just make a direct suggestion and you're done, right? Many years ago, when I was at university, I had a friend who was a hypnotist. He told me a story about being at a party, and the host asked him as he was about to leave if he could talk to his friend about smoking. He was just too nervous to talk to him about all night. Now that he's going, the guy thought he's missed his chance. So could you maybe just say something? He goes, okay, fine. So the guy comes up, he's all nervous and shaking, he's really staring at the big hypnotist, right? So he looks him straight in the eye for like 10 seconds till the guy's like almost petrified, like this. And he looks at him, points and says, stop smoking. The guy just nods, he goes, good, walks off, done. That was the entire therapy. So do you need all that time? No. Why am I putting all that time in? Belts and braces. I am making sure I get all my angles covered and I get the unconscious as engaged as possible. How do I engage it? With specific things, senses. The more engaged it is, the more likely it is it will respond to the leading suggestions. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. Annalise, yes. The fail-safe means basically the conscious mind doesn't even know what the answer is yet. Otherwise, it'll obsess. Let's bring up Menno as well, please. Otherwise, it'll obsess about, well, I don't know what the answer is yet. I don't know what the answer is yet. So great. Suggest that he won't know the answer until he discovers it, because his behavior has already changed. He gets to discover it by just watching himself do something different, right? Menno, before you ask your question, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation which was a little tricky, let's say, and then just surprise yourself by just totally nailing it? You know, you don't know where it came from. You're just like, I did exactly the right thing. I had no plan for it. I've never done that before, but it was the perfect thing to do. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
That's what we're creating with that fail-safe. We're creating that context where the conscious mind doesn't interfere. It just gets to find out in the moment that he can do something that you didn't realize they could do, right? But back to your question, Menno.
I thought I heard you say you go back and forth with to the conscious mind doing the processing,
Personal trance, yeah.
and then you go to the unconscious. Let it find the solution.
Yeah.
But what are you looking for? How many times do you do it?
It's just a few times, right? I basically just did it every time I did a switch. So I first started the personal trance experience. Then I said, basically, I introduced the idea that only respond to what's appropriate to you, back to the personal trance experience, then have the unconscious mind think about the problem and really review it, back to the personal trance experience. Now the unconscious mind can find the missing ingredient in the personal trance experience, back to the personal trance experience. Oh, by the way, the conscious mind doesn't need to know what's going on until it's resolved it. Back to the personal trance experience. Oh, and by the way, you can keep doing this in the background until you fully resolved it. And then for the hell of it, well, back to the personal trance experience, right? Because I want to make sure the conscious mind doesn't accidentally start trying to figure out how to do this. So I've got to give it something to do. What am I going to give it to do? I'm going to engage it in the personal trance experience. So it has something pleasant to get engaged with, so it doesn't get tempted to try and figure out what the solution is, because that hasn't worked. If that would work, you would have done it already. The problems you can figure out consciously, you figure out consciously. The ones that you can't, you don't.
Yeah, but are you looking for a clue that your suggestions are hitting?
Always. Yes.
Yeah.
Harmony. How engaged is he? And how much harmony am I seeing? especially if it's like sitting there going, oh, right? Joshua was great because he had a really positive outlook that told me, oh yes, he's definitely in this. And that's the best shot that he has in terms of this actually getting the results we're looking for.
So then you know the unconscious is also doing its work.
Yes, exactly. Because look, even the personal trance experience was an unconscious thing, right? If you think too hard about a memory, it feels like okay. But if you just kind of like get lost in the memory, that's different. Getting lost in memory is a trance-like experience because the unconscious mind is actually running the show more. So as long as the unconscious mind is making the memory so vivid that you get lost in it, then I know the unconscious mind is doing work. Have you done our CHPH program?
No.
Okay, in that case, I won't make the analogy. But yeah, does that make sense to you? So I'm looking that he's responding where there is specific content, so that when I give him general content, it's going to be made, the unconscious will make it as specific as a specific is. If he's not really responding to specific content, there's no point being general because he's not responding at all, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mino. Let's bring up Jay, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you say almost what you just said, but using the color brown, using it specific in how you were doing it in the trance with Joshua? Because I'm trying to connect the dots with what you were saying. And
oh, okay. So, all right. What's the problem? Brown, right?
Right.
What's the solution? Let's call it pink, right? Great. So how do you know when you overcome it? I'll be pink. Great. What's something that you really enjoy and get absorbed by doing, right? Shooting. Okay, got some details. Now go there, shoot, feel it, see it, smell it, really get absorbed by it. So personal trance, shooting, right? Now, unconscious mind only respond to the extent that it's appropriate for you. Go shooting. Now unconscious mind, just start reviewing brown for all the things you need to know about it to be able to resolve it. Go back to shooting. Now unconscious mind, there is a solution to brown somewhere inside of the idea of shooting. Go start searching for it, shooting. And I'd actually do that 2 or 3 times, going back and forth between looking for solution and going shooting, but that's just the icing on the cake. Now, unconscious mind, don't let him know what the answer is, shooting. Oh, and by the way, unconscious mind, keep working this in the back of his mind until it's totally resolved, so that he gets to discover with complete surprise exactly what changes you're making, shooting. Okay, come on back, how are you doing? Amazing. Does that help?
Yeah, that's super helpful. So when you did the part with the shooting and talking through it, did you talk about, and I'm trying to remember now because you explained it afterwards, were you talking about the success of shooting?
No, just revivifying it, just literally.
You just
revivify it. Yeah, the sensation of the weight of the barrel in his left hand, the sensation of the trigger in his right hand, the loss of vision as he's focusing on the sight, the way he loses the target but just sees the sight. It's called the sight picture when the little thing on the front. Yeah. Obviously, I'm a great shooter, and the targets at the back when they align. Right, the feeling of stillness that he gets, the way that everything becomes really still. Right, I'm just basically using presuppositional awareness, notice, feel, sense, the smell of gunpowder, the smell of the feel of the sunshine, right? The classic sensation, everything we did yesterday.
So he's fully sensory revivified it. And then the question you asked,
no different to the walk to the beach. Exactly the same as the walk on the beach, just with content that's very personal to him.
Got it. And the bridge question that you asked from tying the brown to that, what is that?
Basically, I'm just telling, I'm giving an instruction. Unconscious mind, shooting has a resource in it that will resolve brown. Go find it.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's it. Simple?
Simple. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the question.
Explanation to me.
Let's return Jay to the wilderness. Everyone ready to rock and roll? All right. So 15 minutes each is a huge amount of time. Plenty to get this whole thing done. That's 45 minutes in total. Elizabeth, take us away. Hear me? First of all, congratulations for still being alive. And secondly, go ahead and post some comments, please. Welcome back. Welcome back. If you can hear me, please go ahead and start posting up some comments about how it went. And here we go. I think we've lost 1 or 2 people in the process, but there we go. Okay, folks, so how was that? Was that fun? Peter really enjoyed it. Mino loved it. Pamela found that blissful. Craig found it very rich, super great. I think those are two very good words to put together. Enjoyable. Excellent. Great time. I went so far. Wow, extra groovy. Excellent. Let's bring up Jeff as these comments keep coming in. Thank you. Keep them coming, guys. So are you beginning to see the pattern here? Yes? Are you beginning to get a sense of how this all fits together? Hey, Jeff.
Hey, so I just want to say a comment. So
Okay.
I love the whole, this is because, you know, this is very similar to doing, you know, even CHPH stuff. This is just kind of, that's what it reminds me.
Well, it's a most, of course.
Yeah. And I want to mention a comment about my unconscious mind, how basically the problem symbol was a chain. And then he asked me, he goes, well, what would you feel if you had, if it was, you know, if you overcame it or whatever? And I says, I feel like released comes to mind. And just the whole idea of a chain being released. And that was out of nowhere. So I just love that whole, how that works.
Content is awesome with the way it puts it all together, isn't it? It really is awesome. And by the way, congratulations, you have just figured out the segue for tomorrow morning. So I think this is the best place for us to leave things tonight, because if anyone's wondering what's coming tomorrow, ask Jeff. He just nailed exactly what's coming. Nothing to do with chains, I promise you.
Okay.
But the relevancy of his comment is right on point, right? For now, how do you find that? Was that interesting? Was it good?
It was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I felt comfortable doing it. I felt comfortable being a subject and the hypnotist. It was very good.
So let's just really briefly recap where we're at whilst we're at it. That's okay. I'll do it with you so everyone can listen in and we can get all the same thing, right? So we started this whole process by thinking about what's our core outcome, right? Change. And if change our outcome, we're going to assume that learning creates change. And then learning comes from experiences plus perspectives, right? So we spent the first day developing tools primarily around building experiences. And then today we've been really looking at how do we use those tools to shape the perspectives around experiences. When we have and this last technique in particular was really just looking at a experience from a certain perspective and drawing things out of that, right? What is the most basic way if we can create that sort of hypnotic feedback loop? We look for harmony in the body, right? If what we say creates more harmony, it tends to be conducive for trance. If it creates disharmony, it tends to be the opposite, right? Truth creates harmony. So we trace specifically true things. We can say generally true things. And of the generally true things, we have two categories: senses and concepts, right? So normalizations, right? Super simple stuff. How does it all go together? We revivify, we pace, we lead. And really, if you think about it, revivifying and pacing in the context of what we're talking about here, the same thing, aren't they? Can you see how I mean that?
I kind of, could you explain it though? Because I do.
Of course. So revivifying is you're basically bringing back an old experience. So then essentially you're creating an internal experience. When you're pacing current experience. They're both experiences.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So for our formula, perspective plus lens, right? Revivification and pacing create the experience on which we can then put a lens through which we look at it to create a learning. Think about it, what we just did now, right? Personal trance experience. The normalizations, right? Review the experience from this lens. Find something in there that will resolve the problem. Experience, perspective, learning. Learning equals change. That's how we change.
I have a question.
Simple.
So when you're revivifying something, is it good to say, and you can notice your breathing? Because I feel like that would take them out of it. I wasn't really doing it. I'm just out of curiosity.
Well, it depends. Like for example, with Joshua, it would have been because the breathing was part of his memory. I'm not reminding him of how he's breathing now, but the stillness of his breathing is about to take a shot. But you can also change the topic. So whilst you are continuing to shoot and sight and all the rest of it, your body, so this is a conscious unconscious association, a little bit more sophisticated, but you know this stuff from the Ericksonian, right? So it's a cud. Whilst you're doing this consciously, your body, which is the unconscious, is breathing, relaxing, doing these other things. So you can paste current experience to the unconscious whilst you are revivifying a memory for the conscious, and then getting the unconscious mind to then bring up a filter on both experiences to then draw it out into some problem or other and resolve it. So you can get as complex or as simple as you wish. And this is my big point here. Make it as complex as is useful. And as soon as it starts falling apart, simplify. It's really simple. Revivify, pace, lead. Specifically true, generally true. There's generally true that pacing current experience, sensory experience. And there's generally true that's more abstract. That's the normalization, conceptual. Three
I feel
tools.
like, so using ambiguity in that situation where it's kind of a crossover would probably be very powerful, wouldn't it?
It can be extremely powerful. It's just another, it's again doing essentially what the normalizations are doing. It's creating a vessel, either it's creating a vessel for someone to read into it, put content into it, or it's creating confusion, which takes the conscious mind out of it. Either way is better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not something we need to think about too much here.
No, it just popped in my head just now and I felt it was,
We all good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Let's release Jeffrey again. Folks, did that make sense to you? Did that summary kind of make sense to you guys? Right? Really simple ideas. Revivify, pace, lead. Right? Watch for harmony. You've got to keep your eyes open. If you don't keep your eyes open, you don't know how things are landing. So watch for harmony and say things that are true. Specifically true, pacing the experience that they're in. Generally true, which can be both pacing the experiences they're having or a normalization, a conceptual idea. Give them an experience and then lead them to a perspective on their experience, and they learn something. If they learn something, they've changed something. We may not always know what they've changed, but that's why they'd be on the lookout afterwards to see how their behavior changes over the coming days. Done. Is this starting to sound simple? Yes? I promise you tomorrow we'll make it complicated again, but only to the extent that we'll simplify it. So you realize we're just building it up, so we can break it back down and build it up and break it back down. So you realize you can work at any level you want. And if it ever gets too complicated, just remember, RPL, revivify, pace, lead. Revivify, pace, lead. Tomorrow I'll show you a way of revivifying something that doesn't exist. With that happy thoughts, I'm going to wish you all a great night, and I'll see you bright and breezy in the morning.